Hello everyone, here's a quick overview video with this fill-in sheet to help introduce Hinduism, probably the world's most diverse religion in respect that it makes no demands. Nothing is necessary for you to believe or to practice, no pilgrimage, no ritual, no devotion to one particular deity, god or goddess is mandatory for you to be considered a Hindu. Hinduism leaves the religion at the wide latitudinal, longitudinal discretion of the individual believer to recreate, reconstruct Hinduism in the best way that individual believer sees fit. So there's no universally binding creed or rite, ritual, sacrament, practice. You must visit the temple, you must perform this ritual to this god or goddess. It's completely open. Hinduism is also the world's oldest religion, which is still in dominant practice in the world today. I would like to introduce Hinduism further by going over these 10 points with some fill-in here that we can do together. The first point here is the Brahman. Hindus believe in one all-pervasive supreme being who is both immanent, existing and operating in, internal, inside, and transcendent, going beyond, existing beyond, transcending, who is both creator and ultimate reality, the Brahman. The Brahman. Hindus therefore are monotheistic, believe in only one God, despite 330 million different manifestations. In essence, God appears differently, but these appearances all lead to the same God. So Brahman is this one divine energy, this one sacred deity who is immanent, operating, existing in the world, in the universe, in our human reality, but also transcends it, existing beyond as well too. And another level of sacred reality, not just bound or limited by this world, but also can penetrate, transcend, and exist beyond. In fact, the entire universe is just an extension of the Brahman. So everything in the universe and everyone in the universe, all the various gods and goddesses, everything in nature, everything in the cosmos, and again, everyone in it, including humans and animals, is an extension and a manifestation, incarnations of the Brahman. So these aren't different gods and goddesses. They're just different depictions of different various qualities of the one supreme being, the one God in Hinduism known as the Brahman. So thus Hinduism, having all these gods and goddesses that aren't different though, just different extensions of the one Brahman, is technically actually monotheistic, the belief in one God. This view of reality, that nothing ultimately separates us from the Brahman is the same shared sacred source from which everything emanates and exists, that we are in full union with the Brahman, and thus we should reject all notions of full separation, isolation, or independence, and see everything as interconnected, interdependent, is known as monism. So it's a monistic view of reality. That's another important term in Hinduism. Number two, Hindus, they're very inclusive. They're very inclusive. They believe that no one religion teaches the only way to salvation or human goal above all others, but that all are genuine paths that are facets of God's light, deserving tolerance and understanding. So thus Hinduism is able to embrace and transcend at the same time all religions. All religions. Actually, the actual title of Hinduism is eternal truth, eternal teaching, everlasting religion, perpetual duty. That's the actual name of this religion, technically. Hinduism was a title thrust upon it by Western colonialism, namely from the British. The British come along into India in the 17th century and onward, and they give this name Hinduism, eventually, to the religion of this region, lumping it all together, based off a geographic term of Indus. Number 3, Hinduism is by far the dominant religion of India, counting about 70 to 80% of that country's population. Hinduism is the third largest religion with about 1.1 billion followers total. So Hinduism has a little bit over a billion followers total out of a population of around 8 billion people. So Hinduism is about 13% of the world's population. But again, and its native homeland is India. Now, to state both of these statistics, 90% of all Hindus in the world today still live in India. If you look at the population of the country of India itself, it's about 70 to 80% of the country itself of India is Hindu still. But India is the second most populous country in the world of about 1.3 billion people. So 1.3 billion people in this world out of 8 billion total live in this one country called India. Astounding, astounding. Number 4, as we kind of referenced, Hinduism, its dominant feature definitely is diversity. Hinduism has no agreed upon definition, no universally binding creed. Creed is a list of beliefs. No organizational structure, no historical founder, and no demands on any specific belief, quote-unquote church or temple or mandir, M-A-N-D-I-R, authority, or text, sacred text, as authoritative. So Hinduism is completely open at the personal discretion and volition of each individual member, follower, believer, practitioner, adherent to recreate, to develop their religion in the best way they personally see fit. Now, obviously, that discretion, that choice is going to be heavily implicated and shaped, impacted, and influenced by the surrounding culture, family, social structure, geography, of course, that all. I'm not denying any of that. But you don't see this wide, again, just access to and, allowance, permission to recreate the religion as much as you see fit in other religions. Definitely, definitely. Number 5, as I scroll up here a little bit, or I guess down, Hindus believe in the divinity of the 4 Vedas, the world's most ancient scripture, and venerate other sacred texts as well, like maybe the Upanishads. These primordial hymns are God's word and bedrock of Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion, the everlasting truth, the perpetual duty. That's the name of Hinduism given to their own religion. Again, the word Hinduism was thrust upon this religion by the British colonial empire by Western influences. So Hinduism actually has many sacred texts, many. The most ancient, the oldest, are the Vedas. The Vedas is just Sanskrit for wisdom, knowledge, sacred lore. Excuse me. This is the oldest of all the sacred texts of Hinduism, which is actually a collection of 4 different books. They were written over a period of time. The oldest of those 4 books of the Vedas is the Rig Veda, which probably in its initial form, oral, verbal, goes back to around 1500 BC. So here Hinduism has a sacred text that is 3,500 years old already, and it's still used, it's still read by some Hindus today. Thus, it's the world's oldest sacred text used in a religion of dominant practice in the world today. Number 6, Hindus believe that the universe undergoes endless cycles of creation, preservation, and dissolution, destruction, or recreation. Humans are not immune from this cycle as well of reincarnation called samsara. Samsara is the cycle of rebirth, reincarnation. Rebirth, reincarnation, transmigration of the soul. The universe goes through this cycle, the cycle of water from atmosphere, rain to ground, back up to reabsorption into the atmosphere, the cycle of the seasons, the cycle, of the growth of a tree from a seed to obviously its height of a tree, years, sometimes decades later. Everything goes through these cycles. Humans are caught in this cycle too. of creation, preservation, and destruction. Destruction is recreation. That's called samsara. Samsara is the cycle of rebirth, reincarnation. Samsara means like journeying, more literally from the Sanskrit. Samsara is governed by karma, number 7. Karma is the law of cause and effect. Karma is action or to do in Sanskrit. Karma is just the natural result, byproduct, consequence of your actions. Good, you do good, that's going to output more good. You do bad, that's going to generate or yield more bad. Good begets good, bad begets bad. It is the moral law of cause and effect, which governs samsara. But we are in charge of our own karma, because we are in charge of our own actions. Karma shapes our life to come. Karma administers, governs our samsara, our rebirth, our reincarnation. So we are the self-architect. We are the master of our own karma, unless we are the master, the self-architect of our own samsara. You don't want to be reborn. You don't want to go through a cycle of rebirth, because that rebirth brings you right back into this world. Right back into this world. Then that's number 8. You want to break through, penetrate samsara, which is governed by karma. Hindus believe that the soul, we'll say Atman for that, I do want to point out that term, reincarnates, evolving through many births until all karmas have been resolved, particularly negative karmas, and moksha. Moksha, liberation from the cycle of rebirth, is attained. Moksha is liberation, freedom, deliverance, or release in Sanskrit. It is the goal. The central goal in Hinduism is to attain, quote unquote, enter, get to, you've arrived at your destination, moksha. It is breaking through, overcoming, conquering, vanquishing samsara. So rebirth, reincarnation, samsara inhibits moksha. So we are in control of all this because karma governs. Karma governs all this, and we are in charge of our own karmas because our own actions determine karma. And karma determines the direction of one's rebirth, samsara. So moksha is delayed only because of us, only because of us. Our Atman, our soul, is released from samsara once all that negative karma has been resolved. Moksha is the afterlife goal, the hereafter, the life to come, the afterlife, full union with the Brahman. The Atman, there's nothing left to it. All that's left in the soul is the Brahman, because we fully realize we're in full union with the Brahman. So that's all that's left within us is the Brahman. Of course, these are great beliefs, but the practices, they have to be put into practice. So such positive karma from fully understanding full union with the Brahman comes about when we live a lifestyle that matches those beliefs, basically. We see Brahman everywhere and in everyone, and we treat everything and everyone accordingly. Positive karma flows abundantly from those beliefs and putting those beliefs into practice daily with our interactions and our relationships with reality, the world around us, and everyone in it around us too. So the soul, or Atman, is in full union with the Brahman. So the fundamental problem of human existence is that reincarnation, is samsara. We don't want to be reborn because we're brought back into this world. So samsara is not reincarnation. It's not a cool thing. It's not neat or interesting. It's the result of moral failure, of negative karma. Number 9, Hindus believe that divine beings exist in unseen worlds and that temple worship and or rituals and or personal devotionals and or pilgrimage and or meditations and or following a guru or various paths are margas, sometimes also known as yoga. Yoga means more union though. Margas means path, though margas and yoga are kind of used interchangeably and synonymously in a Hindu context. That create a communion, yoga, with these devas, and gods. So there's so many different ways to achieve union, union, yoga with the divine Brahman. So many different ways. Hinduism probably has the most notions of pilgrimage, for example. The Kumbh Mela give you this as an example. Pilgrimage is routinely the largest gathering of human beings in one place at one time in all of human history, including, to the present day. Typically 30 to 60 million people gather in these sacred places in India every 12 or so years, called the Kumbh Mela, the sacred pitcher. Pitcher as in holding a vessel of sacred elixir, a liquid mixture. That's celebrated around 12 years in Hinduism, and that routinely brings about 30 to 60 million people. Hinduism has a lot of different sacred times of the years or holy days as well. You probably heard of Holi or Diwali, some important holidays as well too. And then finally, number 10, Hindus believe that all life is sacred, to be loved and revered, and therefore practice ahimsa, which is non-harm, non-foul, non-injury, non-violence in thought, word, and deed. Through a monistic view of reality, everything united together and interdependent and interconnected because of the Brahman, because everything in the universe, everything and everyone in the universe is an extension of the Brahman. When you hurt or violate, manipulate, or abuse something or someone else, you are directly harming Brahman. So ahimsa, non-violence. All right, there is a quick introduction and overview of Hinduism. Take care, everyone.